Hello, and welcome to Replay Value. If there was one currently airing show that I was hoping I wouldn't have to comment on or watch, it was Goblin Slayer. So wouldn't it be a real RNG miracle if my first ever 5-hour analysis challenge wound up giving me that very same show to talk about? You can find out more about the challenge in the description, and be sure to follow me on Twitter so you know next time I'm taking requests in this format. Anyway, the winning submission asked me to talk about the most controversial show of the season, specifically on how its first episode sets up the tone and how it succeeds and fails in following through on that. And this will probably surprise you, but I think Goblin Slayer's production does a good job of creating and building on tone, whereas the writing is where things get a little bit messy. The production side isn't perfect by any means, but well, we'll get to that in a hot second. By starting with this flash forward with primary colors of black, gray, and blood red, the show's color palette instantly sets a strong, dark, and depressing atmosphere. Add some flickering lights and this water dripping as a sonic note, and you've got some easy callbacks to make later in the production. The choir music also provides a nice mix. It could either be angelic, as in the Goblin Slayer as a hero, or demonic if he's a villain. The fact that our priestess is afraid in this scene certainly shifts us towards the latter, especially with the red eye. And this focus on eyes we'll see again later in the episode. But the fire in the priestess's eye fading away and giving life to her purple color could imply a trial by fire in which she'll survive. But even with this purple, red, black, and gray are still our primary focus, until we hit the post-title card. This opening is a solid statement of despair and fear that will resonate throughout the rest of the episode. Even as we go through shots of everyday life, that underbelly remains, regardless of the plucky music that plays while we learn about how adventuring works in this world. It makes all of the conversation's points seem a lot more pertinent, and gives a deep sense of foreboding when the guild captain politely suggests that they wait for someone of a higher rank to pick up the goblin slaying job. It's worth noting that the second the priestess joins the party, the plucky music disappears. Combine that with a nervous gaze and you've got some pretty obvious foreshadowing. But easily my favorite bit in the whole episode is when that dripping sound comes back as they enter the cave. It's a very clear audio link to the opening segment that preps you for the party's eventual wipe. The cave also uses some good shots to stick things in your mind. The monk and warrior run by, but the shot holds on the shadows, and the POV shot from the other tunnel entrance as the priestess and mage walk forward, which become relevant later when the Slayer shows up. Personally, I think once the goblins show up, the show falters in a lot of ways. Firstly, the eventual wipe was made way too obvious. The fact that this team is the lowest rank but immensely overconfident, the lack of prep either in terms of items or time, all of these things continue to build the sinking feeling in the viewer's chest, but frankly, it's too much. This makes the combat feel irrelevant, because it's just a matter of time before everyone except for the priestess dies. If the show had made it so that the team was doing well, like taking out a bunch of goblins before things went south, I think that the idea that the team could have clawed it back could have worked. But the fact that the team immediately starts to fall apart, only one goblin dies before the mage goes down, doesn't provide that hopefulness. The same is true with the warrior. He's already been stabbed and isn't about to turn the fight around. But when his sword hits the ceiling, the show stops the music and lets the shot sit for a few seconds before continuing. It signals that this is a shocking moment that has lost them the fight, but again, we had no reason to hope that they'd come out alive. Despair is at its apex when hope has been squeezed out. The lack of hope really makes this scene only about as 10% effective as it should be. And that's not even bringing up the monk scene, which is about 1 minute of trying to shock value it up to 11, but I'm gonna come back to that in a moment. The show recovers a bit when the Slayer shows up. Prior to his appearance, we have the dripping sound again, our auditory link for hopelessness, and the literal flashes to the opening are also strong here, mostly because of how strong the opening was at conveying tone. The guitar riff straight from Doom preps us for a brutal ass-kicking, and the shot selection as he introduces himself is solid. Hero or demon remains the question as he conducts himself with no nonsense and kills the mage to end her suffering. And the other nicety of the intro, the eyes, also come back with the flashbacks. The focus on eye color establishes the humanity of the warrior, monk, mage, and priestess. The Goblin Slayer with his mask suggests that he has shrugged off his humanity for his work. The following combat scenes are fine. Goblin Slayer is efficient and brutal, and it comes through in his methods and nonchalant demeanor. I think the OST is quite good in this section, though I think the amount of explanatory dialogue brings down the intensity of the sequence. Which could be intentional, as to the degree to which the rookies failed to take out the goblins makes it hard to give the goblins credit for being a threat. But once the fight is over and all the goblins are dead, horrible jump scare attempt aside, freaking why even bother if you were going to set it up so obviously, we then come to the children. And this, in my opinion, is where the show completely fumbles the tone. The scene with the monk, you know the one, firmly asserts that there is no gray area when it comes to goblins. We have seen no other goblins do good, we have heard of no other goblins that do good, and when the priestess asks if there could be good goblins, the Slayer simply replies that there is no such thing unless they don't leave their hole. The treatment this scene receives then, with the sad piano track, the crying goblin children, and the filter that is being put on screen, suggests that she is crying for them, and that we as an audience should feel bad as well. It's more of the is Goblin Slayer a hero or villain question implied earlier. But frankly, it's crap. The show went too far in showing the horrors that the goblins were capable of without showing even a lick of innocence or decency, and doesn't suggest that these were just some bad ones. If it wanted to play the goblins and humans can both be good and evil, then it should have gone about setting up the former half of that dichotomy earlier in the show. You can have gray area discussions of monster genocide, you can have brutal glorified vengeance sprees, but you cannot have both at the same exact time, especially if the former comes out of nowhere. I can see the argument that these displays of violence against the rookies were to get us into the Slayer's mindset, such that we would have no issue with the murder of the goblins, whereas the priestess is more human. But then, if the priestess was actually mourning the children, why does she party back up with the Slayer? If she was just thankful to have survived, why cry over the sounds of the children and their blood spilling, and why include the weird filter? It just doesn't make sense unless there was an attempt to make a moral gray argument on both the part of the Slayer and the goblins. This is where both the writing and production flounder on the tone, and it's an unfortunate way to end the episode, though frankly it was all downhill from the opening scene. In case you were wondering, I have no intention of continuing to watch Goblin Slayer. It wasn't as bad as I thought from the community reaction, but frankly, I'm watching a bunch of other anime and TV series that I enjoy far more than GS. I'll be sure to do another 5-hour analysis challenge in the future, so stay tuned for that so that you can make a submission. Leave any feedback in the description, and be sure to follow me on Twitter so that you'll know the next time I run the challenge. Until next time, thanks for watching.